Welcome to Decoding Multifamily, a video podcast that explores different aspects of multifamily operations and takes a deep dive into the important topics that affect the apartment industry. Watch as co-hosts Suzanne Hopson and Paul Marks engage with multifamily thought leaders, rising multifamily superstars, and apartment industry icons. Decoding is defined as the process of extracting meaningful and useful information. So watch closely as we begin Decoding Multifamily.
Well, welcome to our episode of Decoding Multifamily. I'm here with my co-host, the fantastic Suzanne Hopson, and we're going to jump right into the conversation in just a second, but I do want to let everyone know that one of our founding sponsors is AppWork. Much more than maintenance, AppWork is advanced business intelligence, streamlined maintenance workflows. Keep an eye on the leaderboard as your service teams enjoy the gamification of maintenance. Visit appworkco.com and transform your productivity today. So, Suzanne, why don't you go ahead and introduce our guest?
I would be happy to, Paul. Thank you so much. And welcome, Jennifer Sutter, Executive Vice President at Ascento Real Estate Partners. She's also a speaker, trainer, and a #1 cheerleader for her teams. She's up to a lot of really great things, but she's known to be a results-driven multifamily executive and trainer, as we spoke of, with progressive experience in operations, marketing, financial analysis, training, management, and client relations. Consistently, she exceeds the business objectives with adaptable perspective, insight-driven strategy, and creative execution. She also holds her accredited residential manager designation through the Institute of Real Estate Management, IREM, and is a licensed property manager in the District of Columbia, a national compliance professional as well with certifications. She's both a member of IREM and the Property Management Association of Maryland, where she has served as a committee co-chair. Welcome, Jennifer, with that long list of good stuff.
Well, it's very long, but thank you. I love it.
Yeah, thank you. And I know our listeners are going to be very interested in decoding you. And that is what this is all about. So if we can just jump right into some questions, that would be awesome. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So you have been recognized as one of not only the rising stars, but a star, an icon in our industry in multifamily. And we're just really interested in knowing some of those key milestones in your career. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those?
Absolutely. So, I believe you're in property management and you either are born in it or you fall in it, and you either stay in it or you run from it. And I am definitely someone who was born in it. I'm the rare case that my entire adult life I've been in property management. And so it's been my entire journey. And I'm blessed to say that I learned it from my mom. She was a property manager as well. So it's been an exciting journey for me. Some of the milestones, I think that's one of the biggest ones is, I started so early and I've seen the industry go from, where it was to where it is. And I won't age myself, but from where it was to where it is. But learning property management from the bare basics, before I had a computer and when I was using ledger cards is a blessing. And so, seeing that to where it is today, I think puts a lot of what we do in perspective, and I believe has really made me successful. And then, I've tried several aspects of property management. So some of those milestones are just the positions. It's putting, dipping my toe in and saying, do I like it? Do I hate it? Do I want it? Do I not want it? It's conventional, or is it affordable? Is it, senior? Is it not? Is it A+? Is it C? And just seeing like, what do I love? Where's my passion? Where can I make my impact? So to me, that's my biggest milestone pieces.
Yeah, I love that. And as someone also who grew up, and I won't talk about the decades there, and trying on all the different hats. Yeah, so let's go into that just a little bit deeper if we could. What has been your favorite hat? Like, what is your favorite thing to do and spend that 80% of your time doing, if you could do that?
Okay, so if I had to say out of all the positions I've had, what's my favorite, I would say it's property manager. And people might think I'm crazy, but there is nothing like being on the asset and sitting in that chair and having that impact. And getting to see people have their kids and move into your property and their first home and experience in their lives. And, you know, it's just such an amazing position to be in. I think where I'm at now, it's that same thing at a different level. And it's probably one of the hardest jobs I've ever had, is taking what my passion is and what the industry and the residents and investors need, and teaching that to 20, 30 to 100 people. It's hard, but it's so rewarding, and I love every piece of it.
Oh,
Yeah. I love that too, and you're right. I mean, that seat, that property manager seat is it really is like the ultimate of running your own business, right? And how do you think it's changing now? Do you think that
yeah.
that property manager role, from your perspective, from the time that we were doing those ledger cards and other things, other methodologies of bookkeeping, do you think it's changed, and where do you think that's going? Do you think that's going to affect that at all?
I think not only has it changed, and I think we used to be able to say, like, in 2005, I was saying, I wish it was 1995 property management. Now I think, we're not talking decades, we're talking months, and it changes all the time. And so I think early on, we were customer service representatives. We managed an asset, but we were people more than anything else. And I think now we've become administrators more than anything else.
Right.
The game has changed. It's faster. It goes faster than any of us can keep up with, or even that, technology. Before I can cancel a contract for something that's obsolete, something new has come. And we're learning that, and we're navigating that. And it's hard. It is really a hard balance. And I think, I think it's turning around too. I think we're seeing that. And in turn, we're also, and a lot of companies are shifting to that back to basics. So we're trying to get back there. We're trying to balance that time and see where we can do that between technology and people, old school, new school. You're teetering all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And have you found, and I was, contemplating this morning, of in just the markets and how that drives things too. Now it's sort of a double challenge to figure it out. Like, what does that look like, that back to basics now in the current market? Yeah. So thank you for that perspective. I think that's shared by many property managers. And when you're talking to property managers, are you finding that sentiment, like the overwhelmed by the technology and the constant change? Do you sense that?
I do. Because not only do we have technologies, but our residents do too. And so, um, they're ahead of us. We're catching up to our technology, and we're catching up to theirs. And, we're catching up to the people that are trying to help them catch up to us. So there's all of these different facets. There's resident benefit programs, which are fabulous, but they're trying to combat what we're doing. And it's always just this race to get to resident satisfaction, to technology, to meeting the residents' needs. And it's tiring. It really is tiring. And I don't know any property manager that feels like it's not a constant race to the next thing, while all they really want to do is sit down and have a conversation with people, and sit down like we used to do and have those real interactions, but they almost don't exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. What I hear from you, and it just resonates, and I think it's part of what you're bringing to the table, Jennifer Sutter, is that empathy, and in your position to have that empathy. I can speak to this, is such a powerful thing, and that's probably what's made you such a great leader. I hear that a lot out in the world, of people just missing that empathetic leader that still understands what the property manager is going through in the day to day. How do you stay connected?
How do I stay connected? I'm a talker. Surprise, surprise. Um, I really, really work hard to connect. And so, I think it is so easy for people to get the perspective, that ivory tower perspective, that, someone's pushing these things down, because I do property management, I do operations, I do construction, I've got all of it. And if I don't really talk to everybody, then I don't really know what's going on, and I'm making assumptions. And so, I have conversations. My team, everybody on my team, I have one-on-one calls every week. Every, Wednesday, we have a call with our CEO. Every person in the company can get on it and hear concerns, needs, wants, ideas. And so they're relative. Getting on operational calls with our team every week and hearing what their challenges are, what they're seeing, what's really keeping them up at night, and hearing their ideas. And I think that then allows me, allows me perspective to work with and go, maybe that doesn't make sense, or maybe we need to prioritize this, because I hear you. But I also think, like, getting in the weeds is, I hate to say it, but I welcome the opportunity. Example was, I think 2 weeks ago, I went to go visit a property. We don't have a manager there. It's a transition. We're excited for the new one coming in. And then, our senior property manager is there, and she's going on vacation, and she's new. And so, yeah, I'm EVP, but yeah, I sat in that seat for days. I scheduled work orders. I scheduled vendors. I walked units. I met with the team. I heard the challenges. I saw the frustrations. And so I was sitting in that seat. And of course, I loved it, because that was the greatest job of my life. But to sit in that seat and hear those things, I then take it back and go, wow, what did I learn? Wow, that was a really stressful afternoon. Does everybody go through that? And I think if more people really sat in that seat, or even just visited that seat more often, their perspectives would change on what we're putting on people's plates. And then in turn, what can we take off? How can we change the game? Because we control the narrative.
Yeah, totally. And you're right. That ability to stay connected through not just, meetings and reports and emails. I heard something really key in there. There were two things. One was, have a conversation,
Mhm.
but and also get out there, like get beside your people and sit in the seat from time to time, so that you really are truly understanding what those obstacles are that the site teams are enduring. Yeah, for sure. Um,
You know, can I?
oh, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that when you said that your favorite job in the industry was property management as property manager, uh, to me, I've got to believe that that is why you're so successful as a leader, because you love doing what you're leading others to do. And I'm wondering, and Suzanne, you could certainly chime in on this as well, but I'm wondering if that was a job that you really didn't like, how would that make someone an effective leader to try and lead those people in those positions? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be very difficult to enjoy the role that Jennifer's in, or that I've sat in, without having enjoyed that role, because it's really that role on a magnified level,
Yeah.
instead of just, your site team that you're the conductor for, right? And that set of residents. Now it's a portfolio, or it's a company that you're responsible for. And so it's really the same type of work at a larger level. And Jennifer, you can tell me what you think about that. But you think about the same things, like, how are my residents being serviced? How are the turns looking and my product looking? How's the marketing looking? You do that in the property manager seat, and then you do that as, a VP or a president of a company. So I don't know if you agree with that as well, Jennifer.
I totally agree. I mean, it is the same job, and it's teaching people, or hoping that they have the same passion, and that they represent well what your company and your leadership's, vision, value, and initiatives are on that site level. And so but you can't do that from behind a computer. You have to get out. You have to be a regional manager, a VP, an EVP, a president, a CEO that's there, that's present and looking at it to make sure that, everybody's living the same values and that same passion. And if nothing else, the same result is coming at all levels. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I got to say this too. Jennifer, I follow you on social media, specifically on LinkedIn, and I can tell you that it amazes me that you are constantly making posts about you're on a plane, you're heading to this city to go to this property, you're showing photos of what you're doing on the properties. I mean, that is your schedule has got to be crazy.
It's a little busy, but I'm, it's not always that busy, but it is really busy. But, I think it makes it important. I'm so, so incredibly proud of everything, that my teams do. This isn't me. Like, the success of Ascento has nothing to do with me. The team members I'm there for, like, I work for them and they're successful. And in turn, we're all successful. And so I love going there. I love sharing the time and the experiences and seeing their victories and seeing their maintenance shop they're proud of, or their leasing numbers, or the trophy they got. Like, I love that. I live for that. So yeah, I'm a cheerleader for my teams.
Yeah, I can see that. And before we get back into the conversation, I do want to remind all of our viewers that Decoding Multifamily is one of the many podcasts that can be found on the Multifamily Media Network. Go to the Multifamily Media Network website at multifamilymedianetwork.com, and you have the opportunity to subscribe to the weekly newsletter that will announce the podcast, the blogs from all of our great roster of podcasters and bloggers, all related to all areas of multifamily. You get some great information there, free information and education. So we're trying to inspire the next group of industry leaders in the multifamily industry. I also want to remind our viewers that our sponsor of this episode is Decoding Multifamily is AppWork. Optimize operations with its advanced business intelligence that turns data into strategy. Simplify your operations with AppWorks' intuitive platform. Service team members love the gamification of maintenance workflows, making everyday tasks a competition to be number one. And from project management to team communications, AppWork has you covered. Visit appworkco.com today. Go ahead, Suzanne. I know you've got some more questions for Jennifer.
I do. I wanted to get into some nuts and bolts now. And this really just has to do with some of the challenges that I know people are talking about at the proverbial water coolers at all levels of property management organizations. And that really has to do with the market. I mentioned it before, and getting back to the basics, as you mentioned, Jennifer. And one of those areas, obviously, as we're looking at getting back to the basics, is expense control. And so it's a really hot topic right now. People are, revisiting their budgets and their forecasts, and they're sharpening their pencils. We're really trying to get control of, insurance costs, utility costs, et cetera. So what are you seeing, and how are you positioning your teams to really attack some of the expense side of our business and get some control over that?
I think the first thing is really education. I think if we're thinking, go out and save money here, but do people understand why? Do our team members really understand why that's needed and understand the impact? Because if they don't, they're just doing a task with no real vision in sight. So to me, the first piece is just helping them understand you run a multi-million-dollar business. This is like a checkbook. You bring the rent in, you pay the bills, what's left over, but you can't bounce checks. And I can't control, or, likely can't control on a site level, insurance and taxes and whatnot. So when that increases, then where do we go? And so I think knowledge is power, and understanding that. But, secondly to that is really, I don't think we use our buying power as much as we could. And I don't think we use loyal partnerships as much as we could. I think, it used to be that you had your landscaper and you had him for 15 years and that's who you had. And you were loyal to him and he was loyal to you. And I think where we may have gone array and is in saying save money. And so we're compromising and we're moving to a vendor we don't necessarily know. We switch people every other year, and we're not getting the value for our money. But I think, going back to, again, that basic of finding a good partner where you're loyal to each other so you get your best service for your best price. And then, if that works, give them your business. I don't need to have 10 landscapers. I can have one or two that are really good. I'm loyal to them. They're loyal to me. We control the costs. We control the increases. They have predictability, and so do I. And so really having taken over a new company, my focus is, where can I streamline? Where can I give bulk services? Where can I negotiate bulk services? Where can I show my loyalty to my vendors? I am a huge advocate for that. I'm just as reliant on them as they are on me. So value that relationship, and then really just regular analysis. Do I need it? And I think if you really ask a property manager or even some regional managers, like, where are you advertising and what works? They just kind of look at you like, if I advertise more, I get more. Well, is that working for you? Do you need that? And just because you've cleaned that thing this often for 10 years, does that mean you need it now? Do I still need security every day if we put in cameras throughout the entire property? Does it make sense? And so I think, if you're going to buy smart, but if you're going to run it making sense, looking at it all the time and always questioning, is there a better way, a cheaper way? Do I even need it anymore? Is it even working? And I don't think we do that often enough. We've gotten so caught up in the noise.
We've said so much in that that I just love. One of which is, make it simple, use your common sense, asking the questions, right? Like, does this make sense? But more importantly, you brought it back to what you were talking about from the very beginning, which was those relationships and really spending the time, not only with your internal staff and team, but with your partners and valuing that. You're absolutely right. The narrative has been, make sure you're reshopping your vendors every year, right? And make sure that you're putting your vendors through that process, because you'll probably remain more competitive. And what you're saying makes total sense, which is maintain those relationships and the honesty, the transparency of those relationships, which in turn just provides better service, which will in turn cost you less, because we all know what it's like to have poor service and the impact to the bottom line that can have, right?
I'd like to ask you both a question.
And I don't want to pay somebody else to fix
Do you
what I should
see
have
that
called
as being more of an issue to always churn and burn on your supplier partners to try and get the best price, more on the fee managed side versus the owned asset side, or is there no difference?
Jennifer, you can take that one first.
I don't really see a difference because, I've been here for a couple of years and, before that I've spent the last umpteen in fee management. I don't really see a difference because I think really anybody wants to save money and make money. So I don't see a big difference.
Yeah, I don't either. I think it's a philosophy, Paul, to your point. And what I've seen is that different companies, different owners, even different leaders in their seat, whether that's a regional property manager, whatever level, if they have a philosophy about those relationships, that's what they'll do. And that's what they'll push for. That's what I see.
Okay. All right. Let's see. We've got probably about 11 minutes left in the podcast. So go ahead with some more questions.
Yeah, sounds good. So I always love to ask this question, especially with the theme of the month around women and women in positions such as yourself. And so as a woman in multifamily real estate, how have you broken through those glass ceilings and inspired others to pursue their passions?
Oh, I love this question. This makes me so happy. I start off by saying I'm really, really proud that for 2 companies, I've been the first woman at the table. And, I never, ever thought that would be me. I didn't think that it was possible. But I earned it and I'm proud of it. And the funniest thing is, I think one of the biggest successes is that I asked for it. And I think in general, women don't ask for what they want as often as they should. And in turn, they don't get it. I think one of my biggest successes is that, I speak and I learn from other women, meeting other mentors and leaders and, getting to know their story and their successes and hearing that much, like I think, you're asking me and I'm honored for. But I also think, I've asked some really tough questions of the gatekeepers. I've asked, for the money that I wanted. I've asked for the position I've wanted. But before that, I asked, what do I need to do? Very candidly, how can I improve? What have you heard? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? If I take those conversations behind the scenes off the table and I put them in front of the people that are making those decisions, those gatekeepers of sorts, then there are no surprises. And that's going to tell them enough about me, as much about me as it's going to tell me about them. Their reaction, their want for me to succeed, their want to dig in and help me to become better. If they don't, I've heard everything I need to know and I'm never going to make it there. And so I think you have to be willing to ask questions that you may not want the answer to, but be okay with it, because that's better than wasting 5 or 10 years of your life in a place that's never going to see you for your value. And uncomfortable is okay. And I think telling people that, inspiring people to do that, and women and otherwise is important. I've made transitions out of positions and had new people come into them who've asked those questions of me, and I'm like, look, they're like, how'd you do it? How did they recognize you? And I'm like, they didn't. I made them recognize me. I asked the questions. I told them what I needed. I told them what I could do. And here we are. You should do the same.
I love that. I almost want to get up and I don't know, do something, but you said it. You said it so impactfully. I don't want to take away from that. The passion behind what you say and the truth behind what you say is just, it's amazing. And I'm so happy that you shared that, Jennifer. Thank you for that. I also think the vulnerability that you have shared and the taking control of your life and the outcomes of that, that's some real ownership. And it's just, I don't see any victim about you whatsoever. I just want to put it out there. There's not an ounce of it. So it's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. Which always leads me into the next question. When I hear about that, that spark and I hear it, what advice would you give to aspiring leaders in our industry or professionals in our industry? What would you give to them to as advice to make their mark in real estate like you have?
First, obviously, you're the controller of your destiny. This is your path and nobody else's, and own it. I think too often we focus on, this in the last 5 years, you've heard it, the seat at the table is the biggest thing. But what you don't hear about is people saying, ask for your seat in the room. You don't need to be at the table, sit in the back and listen. And some of the greatest things I've learned have been from sitting in the back of a board meeting I had no part of, or sitting on an owner meeting call I had no part of, but I wanted to hear it. I wanted to be, I wanted the exposure to understand and then be able to go back to my boss and say, what did that mean? Or if you're anything like me, like I'm Googling it. I get back, I'm like, I don't even know what that word means. But just ask to be present. There's no harm in that. And it not only shows your initiative, but it's going to give you exposure to things that maybe you didn't even know existed. And how do you take the next step if you don't know what the next step is? Or maybe, we always assume there's a defined property management path, right? So you're going to be a leasing agent, an assistant manager, and a manager, a regional. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're a manager and you sit in on this call and you go, wow, acquisitions is really cool. Like I could thrive there. But exposure is everything. So I think ask for a seat in the room. Just sit quietly back, ask questions later, Google a lot. You know, and honestly, be a good listener and an observer. It's been the biggest challenge of my career. I still struggle with it. I'm a talker. I'm not a great listener, but I try really hard. So, just observe, observe and take in those things that are around you and listen to the people that you admire. If I sit here and look with, giant heart eyes at this person with this position, why would I not want to learn from them? And just put yourself in that presence.
I love that. Ask for a seat in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. It's
Yeah,
great.
That's great advice.
Thank you.
Well, there is one other question I'd like to ask to wrap it up, if I can. And it really has to do with what we talked about at the beginning on just the technology and all of the stuff coming at us every day. And the biggest conversation on, that balance between innovation and the traditional way that we've done things. How do you balance that really? I mean, I know we talked a little bit about it at the beginning, but for those out there that are really struggling, what's the advice for them right now?
I think one of the biggest things I think you have to do is not be so set on one way or the other. It's not all or nothing. And that's not just all or nothing, old school, new school, all or nothing, all technology or not. It's not all or nothing, even portfolio wide. I have properties where the clientele screams technology, and I have other properties that don't even have a website. They will not do anything that's not in front of a person. So I think, it's not all or nothing. You need to listen to what your clients want, listen to what the market wants, and not just make global decisions. I think we've done that, back in the day, it was like, this advertiser ILS is offering a deal if I put the whole portfolio there. Well, but that may not make sense for everybody, and their dollars could be used elsewhere. And I think the other thing that we're doing is the same thing here. Our platforms sell us on these products that they have, and we're like, give everybody everything. It works. Well, now I've got people overrun with things they don't need, wasting their time. And so to me, you just have to listen. We've, I think to some degree, been disillusioned to believe that prospects and residents don't want to talk to people. Well, maybe that was it the first couple months of COVID, but now people are like dying to get out of their house for human contact. So if we keep thinking the same thing we thought 2 years ago, we're at a loss because there's somebody answering the phone like a real live person and somebody open on a Saturday to talk to them when that's the only day they have. Are you that person? So just listen and feel it out and look at the data and have the conversations, and don't assume that what you read wherever is the tell all be all. What's right for you and what do your real numbers show?
Love it. Data and listening to that data and being flexible.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that too, where it's not a one size fits all, but look at what your client wants, what that market demands, and make sure that you're looking at the whole picture. And then back to what you said, sort of midstream is, doesn't make sense. I hear that in your vernacular all the time. Does that really make sense? Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay. We don't want to be wrong. Nobody wants to be wrong, but you're not wrong. You're being wise. Ask.
Totally.
So Jennifer, as we close this out, tell our viewers a little bit about Ascento, and also if someone wants to reach out to you, how can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So Ascento, we are an owner-managed property management company based out of Bethesda. Right now, we have properties in Maryland, Virginia, and in Georgia. And you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or email or phone, but they're all there. I try to be responsive, so reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. today, the podcast, we really enjoyed decoding you, and that you are watching Decoding Multifamily. I want to let everybody know that AppWork, thanks to AppWork for sponsoring this episode. Imagine carrying a digital make-ready board in your pocket with work order tracking and maintenance technician leaderboards designed to gamify the process and bring out your team's competitive best. AppWork offers solutions to headaches that have plagued the multifamily industry for decades. So visit appworkco.com today. Also want to remind our viewers that Decoding Multifamily is one of the many podcasts blogs that are available on the Multifamily Media Network. And you can go to the Multifamily Media Network website at multifamilymedianetwork.com. Subscribe to the weekly newsletter that keeps you informed on all the latest things that are going to get your free education in multifamily. Thanks again, Jennifer. Thank you, Suzanne. And we're going to be back again soon with the next episode of Decoding Multifamily. Bye for now.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Decoding Multifamily video podcast, and please tune in to future episodes. If you would like to subscribe to our weekly newsletter or discuss being a podcast guest on Decoding Multifamily, please go to multifamilymedianetwork.com. Thank you for watching Decoding Multifamily.